I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular session of the Boonton Township Board of Education held for the purpose of transacting appropriate board business in compliance with Chapter 231 Laws of 1975. The notice of this meeting is advertised in the Morris County Daily Record. Copies of the agenda of this meeting were
appropriately posted and made available to the public.
That's good. Mrs. Bardock.
Here.
Mr. Brandner.
Here.
Mrs. Cabana. Mr. Chen.
Here.
Mrs. Herman.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mrs. McBride.
Here.
Mr. Mills.
Here.
Mrs. Nowicki. Also present, Mr. Fattini, Superintendent Principal. I do not see our Student Representative, Chris Billick. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on our agenda is board business motions 1 and 2. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, if not, the questions on the adoption of board business motions 1 and 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say no. Any abstentions? And that brings us to administrative reports, starting with the business administrator board secretary's report. Mr. Murray.
Okay, just a couple of items. As you recall, the last meeting we talked about one of the burst pipes in the classroom. The contractors came in, they took a look. The heating coil, which burst, is on order. Probably will be another week or so. Luckily, it's been okay in that room. We also had the electrician in as a result of the water spill or the water leaking. The floor outlets shorted down, so he inspected. He's going to give me a price on that. So hopefully we're back up and running within the next couple of weeks. Snow removal, the township and our custodians continue to stay on top of snow removal with the recent storms, and I brought the custodians in on this past Sunday to clear out, so there's no chance that we have a delay on Monday, so they did a nice job there. A reminder again, the financial disclosure statements, just go in. If you don't have the log information, I'll get it to you. It should take 5 minutes or so to do. I have a number in. I did return a couple to folks. And then what I'll do now, that's just a reminder, there is the deadline of in April, but it's nice to get it all done so I can certify that everybody is compliant. You don't want to get the nasty ring from the Ethics Commission. Okay, so you recall last time I did a preliminary budget, so this just keeps in line. This keeps in line with making presentations, having discussions for the public. That's all. That's the agenda. So the board, can understand a little more, and the public can see that we're certainly open about making our presentations and making the budget known. So I'll just run through. A lot of the slides are similar in the past. I made a couple of changes. I'll highlight those. Again, some dates. Important dates really are when is the state aid released, and generally it's 2 days after the governor's message, which usually is the end of February. So there's no set time right now that I know of for that message. I'll keep you posted as soon as I know what the state aid figures are. I'll share that with the board. March 12th is the tentative approval of the budget for submission to the county, and that deadline is March 19th. County office has until the 21st to review everything and return it back to us so that we can have it ready for our public hearing. Again, when we build the budget, we follow our district goals, budgetary goals. I'm not going to read through those. We have our goals on the agenda every meeting so everybody can see those. Some considerations again in budget development. We look at the goals, we look at enrollment, our resources. We have very limited resources here. We have tax levy, which is our 2% at the 2% cap. Which is what our projection at this point is going to be. State aid, roughly about 5% of the budget, and tuition from our pre-K program. We have, you'll see later the number of students that come in. The tuition amount for the coming year is $8,000 per student. So it's a little bit of revenue coming in, but that's really all we have. So if we sustain a state aid cut, there's not a lot of revenue sources that we can reach out to bring in those sources. So it means that you're really cutting into the budget. You look at the capital needs and so forth, the Mountain Lakes send receive. So tuition for out-of-district placements in Mountain Lakes is really a good part of the budget. And again, some budget assumptions. We're projecting 190 students at Mountain Lakes for next year. Currently in the budget, we had 198 students. I think we're probably in a few students below that, so the target number that we hit is going to be pretty close. Cost containment measures, that's a newer slide on page 6, but I have included every year to show you that we're doing our part in consolidating things, sharing services, trying to get the best bang for the buck that we can. We're in a number of joint ventures we buy off of co-ops and so forth in an attempt to save money, and we do save money. The enrollment projections for next year are in the 412 range. You can see where the sections are. Current year versus projected year. This slide you've seen before. Here's the projections for the RBS and for Mountain Lakes. A little bit of in-district placements for the preschool, as I said, the revenue coming in, and special ed district placements are quite costly. Staffing, at this point, we're not anticipating any retirements, and we also are not anticipating adding staff. The roof project, we talked about that in finance as well. We'll talk about facilities, but the funding that we're going to use is from our rainy day fund or capital reserve account. So when that gets infused in the budget, you'll see that when the budget is up for approval, there's no impact to the taxpayer because it's our money that we already have. Now again, this project is only a portion of what was in the referendum. The referendum was all the balance of the roofs. You can see what's in there. So this is all locally funded. There's no state funding for it. That went by the wayside. Tax levy at a glance, you always hear about you're at the 2% cap. So the 2% cap for us means that we can't raise it above this $297,000. So currently we're at 14.8. Projections, if we keep it at the 2%, is an influx of new money from the township, $297,000. So all of our expenses for salaries, all of our expenses for benefits, everything that's increased, we have to balance our budget with $297,000. Again, if state aid is status quo, we're not losing a revenue source there. We're gaining a little bit, maybe in tuitions, but that's pretty much it. So we will, Christopher T and I will be coming back with a different scenario if we have a state aid loss. So we'll come back with recommendations. I always like to do a state aid history. You see many years ago where this was right after the cliff. The funding before that, if I went out 15, 18 years, much higher. It dropped, and now it's slowly coming back. Hopefully, we're at status quo or a little bit better next year, but from what we're hearing from the buzz in other districts, they're not anticipating, number one, any increases, but hoping to keep status quo and the bracing for possible cuts. We had a discussion in finance earlier about how they come up with the calculations. My state association has been in the governor's office. They've been talking to finance. They never really can give us a straight answer on how they come up with the state aid. So I guess it's just, we'll find out in March when we get the numbers. And the reason I like to show slide 13 is that we have been budgeting conservatively over the past number of years. It's not like there's a lot of fat in the budget. So if we were to sustain a cut, you're really digging into the meat of the budget. That, again, the largest portion of your budget is, besides Mountain Lakes tuition and out-of-district placements, our personnel and benefits. That's about 70% of the budget. So when it comes down to state aid loss, as I mentioned before, I can go through and cut out every bit of supply line item that we have in teaching supplies. We probably wouldn't be able to get enough for a decent-sized cut from the state. And what would that do to our program? So that's, I'll try to do whatever I can if we're faced with that to look at ways not to have that impact and not to have staff. That's always the way. And then that's it.
Question on 13.
Sure.
You have the asterisk on,
Yeah.
we had the capital.
So that's why you see a bump in there, because the budget was higher because we were pulling money in the budget, but it didn't impact taxes at all.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. On the 24-25, does that include a capital withdrawal? Because we've got the roof project.
No, because that's gonna be in the 25-26.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay, so you'll see that
Next year.
reflected in-
I'm thinking 25,
Yeah.
that's why, okay, you're right.
So when I get all the numbers, we plug it in and we have 25-26 numbers. I'll drop the 15-16 off.
Yeah.
My next slide will show 25-26.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to our superintendent's report. Mr. Frattini.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge Ms. LaRusso for achieving tenure. She's going to get the certificate. I'll present it to her. I'll present it to her tomorrow. February is Black History Month, and each day of the month, along with other in-class activities and readings across all grade levels and classes, historical fact and contributions from those with African heritage are announced. We have author Troy Cummings. He's presenting on February 28th, and we're moving in the direction of having our authors directly interact with students as opposed to a presentation format or a lecture format, and implement a workshop model instead of that traditional lecture model. So for example, he'll do a presentation for the primary grades, and then meet with grade 4 twice, once as a lecture and once as a workshop, so they can have some one-on-one conversations and direct instruction from them. On Wednesday, February 5th, the 5th through 8th grade band members participated in the biennial district band event. This event showcases the Boonton Township and Mountain Lakes musicians from the beginning of our programs to the top performance ensemble at the high school. There's also a performance coming up at the Spring Concert Arts Festival on April 15th at 7 p.m. for the 6th through 8th grades, or the 3rd through 5th grade spring concert on April 11th. We also have an update on our tech podcast. Our first guest is going to be Dr. Brad Siegel, Mountain Lake Superintendent. Tonight we may be doing a joint podcast. Tonight we had our Valentine's paint night through K through 4 from 6 to 7:30 p.m. A lot of students were in the upper gym, actually the lower gym, painting with some of their parents and friends and some of the teachers. And looking forward to having bowling night, or bowling afternoon rather, on February 23rd from 12 to 2. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much. And you've all had a chance to look at the nurses report, student attendance report, and the staff attendance report.
Can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
myself, Ash, too? And maybe Mr. Martini, this is for you. But the attendance in January really spiked for students, most of which was excused, but I'm just curious if there's a reason, because it almost doubled previously. It's over doubled.
A lot of
Yeah, 100, yeah.
a lot of students came down with two different things. So the flu at one time, and then the stomach bug on another time. And I believe that if this is something that I experienced with my friends and family and some of the things here, generally speaking, people were out for longer periods of time than they typically would be. So the attendance rates really went up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? And if not, that brings us to accommodations. Mr. Frattini.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to Mila DeRocha, nominated by Mrs. Bartel and selected as Outstanding Vocalist by the Mayo Performing Arts Center. She was acknowledged at a performance on January 31st at the Mayo Performing Arts Center. Congratulations to everyone who participated in this year's talent show. There's no doubt RBS has talent. And thanks to the HSA for organizing the performances and pulling the whole show together. Let's talk about Spotlight on Student Work for January. Let's give congratulations to our kindergartners, Victoria DiMartini, Rosa Giuliano, Maximilian Lavoida, Nico Maria, and Arthur Q. In first grade, Alice Janelle, Jack Galloway, Kaylee Shalwowski, Lincoln Wyatt. And in third grade, Cameron Gooseman, Elizabeth Kennedy, and Adeline Newby. Spotlight on Student Work is exemplary work by students in preschool through third grade displayed in the lobby on a monthly basis. Flying high in fourth grade for January, congratulations go to Brenya Verzi, Scott Tracy, Maria Victoria Perez Boston, Miles Lorenz, Ezra Havens, and Jacqueline O'Driscoll. This certificate is awarded each month to recognize students who display a variety of outstanding character and/or achievements within the classroom. And finally, the Falcons of the Month. Falcons of the Month are students that exhibit dedication to learning, leadership skills, great attitude, and strong character traits who promote a positive school climate. Congratulations to, in 5th grade, Lucas Brown, 6th grade, Braden Zaleski, 7th grade, Very Sharp, and 8th grade, Piper Hulsey. And that concludes my commendations.
Great, thank you. And that brings us to correspondence 1 and 2, which you've also had the chance to read. And next we have open session number 1. The first public comment period will be limited to agenda items only. The second public comment period will be open to any topic. Please be mindful that public comment periods are available to enable the public to give comments and feedback to the board. Personal matters and day-to-day operations are not appropriate subjects for board meetings. These can always be most effectively resolved with the appropriate staff members or administrators according to the chain of command concept. Questions may be directed to the appropriate school personnel or board through email. Please state your name and address for the record, and all comments are limited to 5 minutes. Would anyone wish to address the board on agenda items only? There being no one. That brings us to our liaison reports, starting with the Mountain Lakes Board of Education.
Sure. So we met on February 3rd. The first topic they went through was the audit. The auditor came in to go through their financial audit and happy to report they provided an opinion of no modified opinion. There's a few minor things, but nothing major that the audit found. So they were happy with their highest evaluation, I guess, that they could get. The middle school and high school are looking into, or they're looking into an AI camp for the middle school and high school. I think they're kind of settled on one that will be from July 7th to July 12th. It's open to Mountain Lakes and Boonton Township students. There's some information I've provided to Mr. Pertini to take a look at as well. Dr. Siegel gave a board update on their goals. So one of the 4 were strong evaluation, security, RBS articulation, and STEM exploration. So on the strong evaluation, they looked at more tandem observations, new hiring and interview procedures. On security, they're hiring 2 SLEO officers and building security updates. RBS articulation, they finished December received monthly meetings with Mr. Pertini, and increased student and parent joint sessions. They still have more work to do in this area, as you mentioned. STEM exploration, there's a STEM task force vision setting, expansion and development of high school STEM programs. He said this one is the highest hill to climb as far as their goals go. He still has a lot of work to do. They acknowledge this one. And then Dr. Siegel discussed his superintendent entry plan with staff and student focus groups, Board of Ed committee structures and management that they've been taking a look at in restructuring, regular meetings with the borough, the Education Association in Mountain Lakes, parent and community groups, and they have regular progress monitoring and evaluation. January 27th, they had a professional development day. They went through curriculum instruction assessment, and they looked at technology. Specifically, they discussed virtual reality in the classroom, generative AI, social media, Google Workspace, and Google certification. And then there was a big review from Mrs. Cerisi on the Mountain Lakes High School Program of Studies, 25-26. And so they look at specifically new courses that they think are increased focus in areas that students want to attend. So they looked at forensic science, engineering and design, advanced foods, AP psychology, and honors forensics.
Just curious, is there a threshold of how many people showed interest to land on that list?
They didn't, they may have said, I don't remember, but they do pool everybody and they take a look at it. And I think they even said they looked at, I don't know if they looked at 8th graders from here, if they reached out. I thought they said they reached out to the 8th graders as well, and basically incoming freshmen to see, I should ask my kid. But I think they said they reached out to 8th graders, high school, current, and I don't know if they got parent involvement as well, but that's where they came up with these classes. So some of them were like one of them was like a relabeling, repackaging, like the advanced food. Others were certain new courses or they're expanding. That's it.
Great, thank you. That brings us to New Jersey School Boards Association
No, Dave.
and Morris County School Boards Association.
Morris County School Boards was last Wednesday, February 5th. It was the virtual winter meeting. Didn't see everything there. But it was a great meeting. Couple updates. There are 4 items in our shared Google Drive from that meeting. There's the agenda, These are all PDFs. There's a file of breakouts, which one was about how governance can help your new school board member and how committee structure contributes to board culture, so that might be helpful. There was, Charlene did a new board self-evaluation overview, so that presentation is in there, as well as another document for onboarding of new board members, which might be helpful for governance. So those items are all out there now. After Charlene spoke, there was an update from Harrison Silver, who's the legislative advocate for New Jersey school boards. He had a couple of interesting things, just reminders. First off, school board notes come out every Wednesday mornings, the newsletter. There's going to be a new newsletter, which is quarterly, Capital Watch newsletter, and they're slating that one for March or early April. Also, this is going to be of interest to everyone sitting here. Governor Murphy signed into law last week a law that ups the number of signatures required for potential board members who are going to petition that we all have to sign. That petition required at least 10 signatures, and that's been in place since 1939, if you can believe that. And now there will be a requirement for 25. So it ups that requirement, but it's not just this level. It's a part of a much broader bill for all elections in the state. That's obviously the one that affects us. Okay. So those two things. I want to remind you of a couple of dates. Mr. Pertini, I'm sure you're all over the unsung heroes. They keep pitching that to us, or at least reminding us about it. Nominations are due by March 5th. K through 8 district is entitled to 1 8th grade student nominated. That meeting is going to be held on Wednesday, April 2nd. It's at Morris Knowles High School in Rockaway. They promise it's a much larger space than last year, where we were all kind of cramped into County College. So that's the actual award ceremony, and there is a reply. There's a link. If you need it, let me know. They're asking for people to reply by Wednesday, March 26th. We're lucky. We're early in the alphabet. It'd be nice. I know Chris and I went last year. It'd be nice if some of the board shows up, and then I'm not going to do what I did last year and wait to the end. Skedaddle. This was like a 3-hour event. But we're lucky in the fact that we're in the Township of Rockaway.
They go through all
All, each and every school.
Adorable.
High school,
Takes
K through 6, you're only a K through 6.
The surveys are sent out to teachers based on their experiences and the activities and initiatives that the students have been involved in.
Oh, good.
So where you have boiled down to two.
You're narrowing it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Last year was the first year that we had one. And I mean, it's a relatively new award anyway, but it'd be nice. I think last year was the first year that every school in the district, every county, every school district had a representative. So that was really cool to be part of. So that's April 2nd, and then on Wednesday, May 7th, it's the last meeting of the year. It's a hybrid meeting. It'll be the 3rd annual Nancy Helborg recognition ceremony and celebrations, and that'll be held at Mount Olive High School in Flanders. Let's see. Yes, and there's a couple of upcoming conferences. On March 21st, there's the 2nd annual Women's Leadership Conference. That's going to be at Mercer County College, Community College. There's the School Public Forum, Relations Forum on Friday, April 4th. That'll be in Trenton. The first Equity Expo, Friday, April 11th at Mercer County Community College again. And then there's a virtual Spring Education Symposium, Keeping the Promise of Education in New Jersey, and that's Friday, May 20th, virtual. And that is my update.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the Educational Services Commission of Morris County. They met just before this meeting. I attended their meeting, and they just conducted routine business. And next is Boonton Township Special Education Parent Advisory Group.
On Friday, February 7th, CPAC representatives met with administration to discuss several important topics related to supporting students and families within the RPS community. A key focus of the discussion were the upcoming presentations and the importance of sharing them within monthly CPAC to ensure greater Additional strategies to engage the CEPA community and parents were actively discussed during and engaging the parents more actively during RVS school events were also explored, recognizing the vital role that they play in the fostering of a strong support network. Additionally, CPAC and RVS administration discussed potential future presentation topics that would address the evolving needs of students and families. Throughout the conversation, areas of opportunity for growth were identified, particularly in enhancing engagement, communication, and partnership. 3 priorities the administration has highlighted as essential for strengthening the special education community of RVS. Last night, the CPAC presentation was held at Mountain Lakes Library, covering all aspects of the transition to high school for special education students. The discussion provided valuable insights for guidance for families navigating this important milestone. Looking ahead, on February 25th at 7:30 p.m., Ms. Norma Franculo will present Advocating for the Dyslexic Child at the Mountain Lakes High School Library. This event is open to anyone interested in learning more about supporting children with dyslexia.
Thank you. And next is Boonton Township Education Foundation.
Mr. Pretty mentioned the 23rd of February is the bowling event, and then it's been 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, March.
Thank you. And next is Rockaway Valley Home and School Association.
So we met on February 4th. There's a Valentine pretzel thing on Valentine's Day. I always look at pretzel. It's heart-shaped. The talent show, as he echoed, was really successful, and I also wanted to thank the students that helped with all the AV equipment, and it was pretty intensive. I learned how to do it too, but let's let the kids do it. They just had a Chick-fil-A fundraiser yesterday. There's also another one March 6th to support 8th grade. The 8th grade mixer with Mountain Lakes is on March 7th. We're having an ice skating event at Menon with DJ from 5:45 to 7:45 p.m. on March 14th. And then the book fair comes up the week of March 17th. And then they're futuristically planning for the Harlem Wizards on April 30th, and then the fun run is May 7th. That's the biggest fundraiser of the year. And that's it.
Great, thank you. And next is Township of Boonton. Mrs. Cabana's not here, but she kindly passed along her report. Starting with, the Township Committee announced its plan to upgrade the Doolittle's Landing Playground at RVA Fields in 2026. The playground vendor is working on some preliminary concepts before they host a meeting seeking community input, which is planned for the spring. Stay tuned for this exciting project. Registrations for girls lacrosse for grades 3 through 8 is open. See Township newsletter for details. The Township-wide garage sale will be on May 10th. Persons interested in participating should register soon. Details are at www.boontontownship.com. Mark your calendars for upcoming events. The PBA wine tasting event April 5th, Easter egg hunt April 12th, a shredding event April 19th, the Rockaway River cleanup April 26th, Historical Society benefit on May 22nd, and details for all these events are in the Township newsletter at www.boontontownship.com. And next is the Boonton Township Green Team.
So there's not much update since the last time. We're still working on the Sustainable New Jersey actions and the water story, which will have the first draft to be presented to the public for feedback at the Green Fair, which is June 4th. And actually, if any community member is interested in working on the garden or taking a garden class or getting involved in any way, we'd be interested in having them reach out to us.
Thank you.
Is it June 4th? That's here,
Here.
right?
In the evening, 5 to 8.
Great, thank you very much. And that brings us to facilities transportation. I don't think the committee met, but it will be meeting soon.
Yes, I think so.
And next is finance, where the committee just met prior to this meeting. We reviewed the budget that Mr. Murray presented, tentative budget presentation that Mr. Murray presented this evening. And with that, I have a motion for finance motions 1 through 6.
I'll move.
Is there a second? And any questions, comments, or discussion? And if not, the questions on the adoption of finance motions 1 through 6, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say no. Any abstentions? That brings us to personnel. I think the committee met recently.
We met on February 4th, right? No, a week ago, yeah, sorry.
Last week.
So, last week, on the agenda which is on the agenda this evening, is a maternity leave that will be posted, as well as a tenure, and that's it for that report.
Great. And with that, I have a motion for personnel motions 1 through 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? If not, the questions on the adoption of personnel motions 1 through 3. This is a roll call.
Who made that motion? I didn't get.
Jeff.
Jeff. Mrs. Bardock.
Yes.
Mr. Brandner.
Yes.
Mr. Chen.
Yes.
Mrs. Herman.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. McBride.
Yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes.
Mrs. Nowick. Motion carried.
Thank you. That brings us to program. I can do it, it doesn't matter.
Let me do it.
Okay, great.
The program committee met on yesterday morning, the 11th. We covered Boonton content training. I believe all primary grade teachers will be either certified or going to be certified very shortly. Talked about a new program to develop lesson plans, some AI technology, and other teaching materials, textbook materials. We continue talking about the math program in the upper grades and any ways we can change it or examine if it needs to be developed to differentiate students at that level. And I don't have any more topics.
Okay, no, that's good. That's perfect.
That's it.
Great, thank you. And with that, I have a motion for program motion number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? And if not, the questions on the adoption of program motion 1, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say no. Any abstentions? And that brings us to policy. The policy committee is continuing to work on, I guess, developing the sports concussion policy, I believe. No, that's actually, we were discussing a different policy that we're looking at the next time. So with that, may I have a motion for policy motion number 1?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what is different, because it was for other reasons, for the both of the sports concussion district records. So I was just wondering if, in general, like what's changed, if anything, or is it pretty much the same?
I'm trying to remember, Christine reported at the last meeting when they were first reading.
Oh, she did, that's it.
Yeah, if I said that.
Concussion, you have to have like someone who's expert in concussions.
The person basically needs to certified by MD before you can enter the transition.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah,
That
there,
is embedded in the policy now, there's a certain section that people have to follow as far as the protocols after they get a concussion.
Oh, thank you. And any other questions or comments? I forgot the last meeting. If not, the questions on the adoption of policy motion number 1, all those in favor say aye. Do we have a motion?
Put on the motion.
Yep. We have to go backwards. We have a motion, please. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? And if not, the questions on the adoption of policy motion number 1, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed say no. Any abstentions? I'll start off by the discussion first.
Sorry.
With that, we get to open session number 2. The second public comment period will be open to any topic. Please be mindful that public comment periods are available to enable the public to give comments and feedback to the board. Personal matters and day-to-day operations are not appropriate subjects for board meetings. These can always be most effectively resolved with the appropriate staff members or administrators according to the chain of command concept. Questions may be directed to the appropriate school personnel or board through email. Please state your name and address for the record. All comments are limited to 5 minutes. Would anyone from the public wish to address the board on any matter? Yes.
So Michelle Salmon, sorry, 16 Lakewood Drive in Denville, and a 4th grade teacher here. But I just wanted to say really quickly that as a staff member, this is just for me, this is nobody else, but just how happy it's been having Mr. Frattini here, and that he really has gone out of his way, or I feel, to have asked staff feedback and input, things like who's somebody in 8th grade that's been the unsung hero, just everything. It's been really, really nice.
Thank you.
To thank the board too. I feel like you guys really listened to the things we were looking for as the staff. And again, not just me personally, but I'm just how nice. So,
Thank you.
Great, thank you very, very much. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that wishes to address the board? Yeah, if not, thank you, I really appreciate that. With that, do we have any old business to come before the board?
I don't know if it's old business, but I have a question. I think it's new business.
Okay, so if you think it's older, then,
It has to do with,
We'll let you pick.
it has to go with governance committee.
okay.
I don't know if there's ever gonna be a motion, so like, I don't know if like, how does that work? Like, if there's, like, we met, and there was stuff that I don't know if we wanna update the board about what was discussed, like, would it
Oh, we have to put that on the agenda.
officially on the agenda as a section, or like, how should we handle that?
It should be, you're right.
You
We
can
have to
handle like
find a
new
home.
business,
Yeah,
you can
wouldn't
give
it
an
be,
update
it'd be like
today.
new business, right?
Yeah, I
Give
should
it-
either go
yeah,
there.
this
Well,
is-
it could be old because if you're actually discussing something that the board already talked about in the past.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's old in the sense we've established a governance committee,
Yeah.
but there's
You can find
nowhere on the
You
agenda.
are correct, and I was ready to give a committee report, even though there's no place on it,
Yeah.
so let's,
So one is just, you give the committee report, but then two, like, do we need to, logistically slot something in here just to have, even if we don't have a report?
yeah, we have to find a home on the agenda somewhere,
Yeah.
so that could be another topic for the governance committee. But for now, thank you for bringing that up, so I can go over the governance committee met on February 7th. We have sort of a template of things to discuss, and we sort of go over things that need to be, to discuss and skip over other things. So we focused on the superintendent's evaluation. It's basically just the mechanical steps of completing it for the board. And in the past, we always end up doing it in June, so we're going to target the May meeting to get the first round of information back from everyone. So that means the superintendent will have to input the information into the online system, and you all will have put in your feedback, and then at that May meeting is when that would be discussed.
Perfect timing, Mrs. Anna.
Yes. Yes.
Your check is.
Exactly. Wait, do you know about our meeting? I don't know, anyway. And also, we are also discussed doing a board self-evaluation, and we, of course, pondered at the last meeting, should it be calendar year, because our board terms are calendar year. Although the board goals are school year, it makes more sense to do school year, so we're going to do that. We figured that the best place would be in June for that.
Can I just add something that I
Yes.
forgot to report on earlier? They reduced the board standards from 9 to 6 for the board self-evaluation, so they consolidated it a bit, which is always
You mean
nice.
categories?
Categories, objectives,
Wow.
and
Yes, 10 to 6.
It's getting easier. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Let's see, we didn't really discuss that. Did we? I think we discussed a little bit about the board's professional development, past and future. I don't want to get into, too many details of, for update. We looked at there's an annual board calendar on the New Jersey School Board's website. So what we've been doing is checking that calendar and looking what's, behind us and what's forward, and making sure that things are on the board agenda that should be. And, we always have, I think it's automatically Mr. Murray does a great job, and Mr. Bikini, of keeping things on the agenda that need to be on that, in that sequence. So we also review the board goals, just to see how we're doing with all of those. And I'll put an update, in the shared folder for that. And pretty much that was the focus of the meeting.
we had one
Oh.
suggestion, but, and maybe it's a new business
Oh.
too.
Well, it's part of
Well, it's
the-
related, it was part of the government.
This was whole new business.
Yeah,
anyway, so.
we had suggested on the agenda having a spot for the BTPA, to, if they would like to say something, then it's just there. This is a spot, they're always welcome to come and say anything.
They do that at the non-meeting. It works.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it like in the beginning?
It is, it's in the beginning, they always have a rep that will, sometimes they don't say anything, sometimes they have to do things.
Yeah, so what we can do is look at the, agenda, in addition to putting the governance committee in, we can also find the most appropriate location for such a thing.
Okay, thank you.
We'll talk about that right later. Great, thank you. And with that, is there any?
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
question? It's governance related, it might be new, as well as this. But it's all kind of the same thing.
We'll make it all new, we'll put the whole thing in new business,
I
just to
just
make it.
think, maybe, and maybe it's you guys, governance, thinking about it, if we need, or should have a kind of a more standardized approach to having committee materials kind of posted on our shelf folder. I know some committees do it, some don't. I find it very helpful when it is posted because just get a chance to think about it before
Yes.
we're all here in the library. If there's, I think, we can figure out a way to do it where it's not so burdensome to put a half page of notes
Mhm.
in after a meeting or whenever we have, whenever we're in the board meeting. It just seems like a better way to do it than to have it just sort of off the cuff
Yes.
here.
Absolutely.
So maybe a thought for next time.
Yeah, and it reinforces, like, there might be a few more notes in the notes from the committee, and then we're just summarizing here. Absolutely. So the chair people have to do that. I
Or the
know,
note takers
I remember the note takers are, and I can think of one of them that needs to.
yeah, it's me, I know.
I could say I very much appreciate the Morris County School Board's information. Thank you. It's like all right there. Oh, there's a lot of great information for governance there.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
this past meeting was really good for that.
Great. Thank you. Is there any other, well, I guess old business? That'll be new
It's
business.
still under old business.
Yeah.
All
Any other old business to come before the board? Is there any new business to come before the board? And I don't think we have anything for, do we have anything for closed session?
Is that something new?
Okay, great. And with that, since there is no closed session, that brings us to, we have no other board action, and that brings us to a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
And thank you very much. Be careful driving home.